Welcome to our sixth season of our AIM Sports webinars. This is the first, it's January, early January. This is our first one of our sixth season. As you know, we started in March of 2020 doing these when the pandemic hit, and we've been doing a number of them. We're at 2 a month right now, but early on, you might remember we were two a week. That was a lot of workload there for a while, but two a month now. And today's webinar, we're going to talk about the PRI show and the and that's where we always debut new hardware, new equipment from AIM, and the same thing happened again this year. So we're going to discuss that a little bit about the PRI show, just real quick, but we're going to then talk about the new hardware. We're going to just focus on some of the stuff that was either came out right near mid-year or towards the end, and then of course the stuff that was just talked about in January. So we'll get started. PRI show. I invited everybody that wanted to come last time at our last webinar, and I hope some of you made it. The PRI show is always my favorite event of the year. I work remotely from all of our AIM technicians and everybody at AIM, and it's the only time of the year that I get to see a lot of these people in person, and that's just real important to me, and I really enjoy that. So it's really fun for me. And then the camaraderie and the going out to dinner and being in the booth all day and talking about stuff is a wonderful thing. And then of course the meeting all the dealers and all the users that come by and being able to learn about all the new hardware is a wonderful thing. Bryc, do you have anything you'd add about the PRI show? I know you added a new feature this year in the floor of the trade show this year.
Yeah, and actually that was part my doing and partly Robbie's doing. But we had a car in the booth for the first time, which was pretty cool. So we had a Radical SR10, which is a really awesome car, and of course comes from the factory with some AIM goodies on it. So everyone liked that. Had a nice AIM livery on it, and everything kind of went with the colors of our booth. So yeah, it ended up being really cool to do that. And we had a couple other new things out there, so the booth looked a lot different than it did in previous years.
I thought it was wonderful. I did not get a picture of it, so I would have included it. But it's and I didn't have a chance to ask you for a picture, but it was wonderful. So I really did like the car in there, and it seemed to be a hit with all the people as well. Robbie made it with us. I appreciate it, Robbie. You're probably out of breath, all stressed out from trying to get done with your appointment and get back here, having to work late. But I appreciate you being here, Robbie. What is your feedback from the PRI show as you've seen it?
I personally love the PRI show. It's a chance to get in front of all of our customers and show them what we've been working so hard on. And when we hoped that they'll be able to use this new technology and really it's like a sneak peek,
Yeah.
a trailer, if you will, of what we're going to be doing in 2025. And that to me is just like it's filled with excitement and anticipation for the next year to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure both you and Bryc probably look forward to seeing me too. I mean, that's just what. But
Oh,
no, no.
seeing everyone all in one place it never happens. So it's a once a year
once a year,
occasion.
once a year,
It's
exactly.
it's especially cool, and we all get to go out and like hang out and have dinner together and stuff. So it's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I'm glad you're here, Robbie. And we were just getting started, and Bryc's going to handle some of them, and then we'll tell you what you're going to handle when it comes up. Okay.
Hey, I'm here. I'm ready.
The the first and the biggest one is a new Micron product for the karting world, and it's by the way, these are all of these slides for the most part are direct screen captures out of the guide that has been linked for you to download. It's on the website. You can go grab that and see even more information about different things. But one of the things they're talking about there is the Micron. Started off with just the Micron in 1994, and it's our 30th year of Microns, and we started with the Micron, then the 2, then the 3, then the 4, the 5, and now the 6 is just being released at the 30-year anniversary. So a 9-year lifespan for the Micron 5 as far as being sold as new. Of course, it will live on, and we will continue to support it. We're still supporting occasionally Micron 4s and even some 3s, if I remember right. So don't worry if you have one of those. But the Micron 6 is coming out, and I'm going to turn it over to Bryc to just talk a little bit about some of the screen captures that I've got here, and kind of talk a little bit about the Micron. He may have a couple of questions for Robbie as he goes as well. So, Bryc, talk a little bit about the Micron 6.
So the Micron 6 is just building on the success of all those other Microns that we just saw. I mean, each one has been a little bit better, features added. The 6 is going to be a little bit wider display than on the Micron 5 and Micron 5S. A lot of people, I think, when they saw the pictures of this, they were thinking it was going to be massive. It's not massive. It's not, you're not going to have trouble fitting it on your steering wheel or anything like that. But it is a little bit bigger display, as you can kind of see there. There's a bit more that can be fit on that screen. There is going to be a secondary CAN bus, and that's actually what I wanted to defer to Robbie to, because I'm not 100% sure what all that is going to be used for. Probably just some auxiliary stuff. Is there anything we need to know about that, Robbie?
Robbie.
Well, secondary CAN bus just opens up the world of possibilities. Most people from the automotive side of our products, they enjoy the multiple CAN buses, right? What do you do with the second CAN bus now? You got one for your ECU, one for the CAN bus of things, to coin a term. But the as we develop new hardware and technology on the automotive side or on the off-roading side, we realize that it's much easier to send this information and much more seamless to send it through the go-kart without having to run sensors and connections for up to the head unit. So some things that I would love to tease would be, we didn't show them at PRI, but we do have some accessories that will come down the pipeline that will be CAN operated. It also gives us the ability to integrate with other manufacturers. So there's a few companies out there that are doing live timing and scoring for all of our go-kart users. Um, that information can be easily sent to us via CAN. So car ahead, car behind, position in, on track, car number, all of this information that can be stored and recorded in the Micron unit.
Perfect.
Okay, so lot of possibilities there. I just wasn't sure what the full scope of it was going to end up being, but looks like still something that's gonna, be ever expanding. There's
It will definitely
also,
grow and evolve. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. There's also USB-C connection. That's going to be used for charging the new 20-hour internal battery, as well as the PC connection for changes in data download. This is going to be, Wi-Fi as well, just like the Micron 5. So you can use, either Wi-Fi or USB-C to download your data. There's going to be 6-axis IMU, and I think that is most of the
Well,
changes.
but I
The
mean,
Bluetooth,
yeah.
we need to talk about that too.
Mhm.
Bluetooth capability, so you can connect it with smartwatches and other devices for rate monitoring. So that's going to be pretty cool as well.
I think they show that here on this next
Yeah. Oh,
page.
yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
There you go. What it might look like. Even a couple of data spots for it on the display for the certain pages. So where you can see
One of the
see your heart
beautiful
rate.
things about Bluetooth is that you can easily adapt any Bluetooth device using a conventional metric. So anything that supports like ANT, like polar systems, or we don't have to make the heart rate systems because Bluetooth is like an organized standardization. So for us to connect to a Bluetooth device is the same as you connect it to your car and your from your phone, and we connect to the polar systems in the same way. So that means watches, like any wearable that has the type of biotelemetry that we're looking for can be sent via Bluetooth.
Perfect. Perfect. So the world is on that is open, open to many things now, and certainly future
Mhm.
items as well.
Yeah, but
Perfect.
so I don't, I know Bryc mentioned the 20-hour battery life, but I don't think that can be said
Yeah.
enough. 20 hours is that's a whole weekend of racing on one charge.
Yep. And of course the bigger screen, and a little bit more real estate, and
Yep.
buttons and
And
everything
in
covered.
the product manual has like a brief snippet of 16 levels of gray. Um, and we're not we're not going after 50 Shades of Gray here. This is
Hope not.
this is for yeah. This is to enhance the screen resolution and to give depth, the visual field. So when you're reviewing your reviewing your data, the graphs are going to be sharp. The numerical values are going to be, they can be bolded or they can be outlined and stenciled in a way that produces a good contrast. So it's easy to read and it's highly accurate. It's quite an amazing display.
Perfect. Perfect. And
Uh,
there's the
Yeah, I was gonna
specs
say
for it, by
there,
the way.
if you go back up one, there is a picture of the Micron mounted on the steering wheel. So it's a little wider than the Micron 5, but it's not going to be. I know there was a couple of people that were like, "Oh, how it's going to fit on a steering wheel? It's too big," but it's not. It's just a
We
little bit
tested it.
bigger
We
than the
tested it,
Micron
right?
5.
Like
Yeah,
this is what we do.
it works. It's fine.
It's what we do.
Uh,
Yeah,
we tested it and it fits. The
believe it or
nice thing
not.
about the Micron
one-
6 is it's a lot thinner.
Thinner. Yeah, exactly.
It's yeah, the old limitation to the size of the Micron 5 was not only the lipo external lipo battery on it, but the GPS antenna. The antenna that we used was it's a square, and that is as thin as we could make it given the GPS module that we chose to implement. This has an entirely new antenna system that is um, it's astonishing. The satellite retention is through the roof.
That's what I'm hearing as well. Diego has a question. Is it possible that a math channel with a new IMU for the position of the steering wheel?
Yeah, I can talk about that. The steering wheel, it works. It works really well, given that the the gyro and the IMU. I don't know if you can see my hands, but the gyro and the
Can.
IMU um, need to sit on the correct planes so that we can calculate as it rotates. Right? Steering wheels do not sit this way; they sit this way. So now you have a ratio that basically your accelerometers and your gyros are all being combined into a vector, and this vector is shooting this way. It's no longer going straight
Yeah.
up. It's no longer going this way.
Compound angle.
It's a vector.
Yeah.
So what we will do is continue working on the calculation. It works. It does work. It works really well. We actually have it at PRI, and we are going to work on the calibration method to handle all of the different mounting positions that it could possibly be in. But we're not going to get them all. It's going to be a feature that is um, a beta release when the Micron 6 comes out is the plan to absorb as much data collection as we can. The feature is strong, but we can do better.
And when we do better, that'll just be a firmware upgrade, and everything will work for
Yep.
the next person. So okay,
Yep.
perfect, perfect. And there's the specs. They're in either the booklet if you want to look at them a little bit deeper later, or they're in the presentation that you can download as both of them as PDFs. So okay, the next item, XLog. We actually talked about that a little bit last year, but between the XLog and the next one we're going to talk about, Bryc was going to give a little bit of a brief idea of these.
Yeah, so the XLog, for those who are familiar with the Solo 2 DL, is kind of a screenless Solo 2 DL. Has ECU, either CAN, line, or RS-232 connection. It has a built-in GPS, which uses the GPS, GLONASS, BIDOW, and Galileo satellite constellations at 25 hertz. Has a internal IMU, is able to accept expansions like the ACC2, the LC1S Lambda monitor, SmartyCam 3 series. There's also, going to be Wi-Fi, Bluetooth with those, an internal battery, and a 4 GB internal memory, which is kind of the standard for most of our stuff. There's going to be what we can see in this picture here is a removable USB-C key. So that's basically like a micro SD that has a USB-C attached to it. So that's going to be for storing data so that you can, if you're doing endurance racing or something, or if it's just easier to pull that out to pull the data, you can use one of those to get data off of it. And yeah, I think that's most of it for that one. So
Perfect.
basically a solo,
Do we
yeah,
have
solo 2DL without display.
do we have a slide about the memory key or the
Uh,
memory device?
I don't. Only the can device.
The-
So the memory device is it's external storage, like an SD card,
Yeah.
if you will, but it's going to be compatible with any of our USB-C devices. So
Well,
we were just talking about the Micron 6 having USB-C. That can be removable storage for your Micron 6.
mm,
Plugs in, duplicates the memory onto a 32 gig um, uh, storage device, a solid state storage device, and it could just be pulled out, plugged into your computer, and downloading data. No need to wait for wireless communication. You can still use the USB, of course, for data download, and then Wi-Fi.
of course, the Wi-Fi too. Right. Okay. Perfect. There's the specs on that if anybody wants to see that. And the other one, Bryc.
so the ECULog is very similar to the XLog in that it's kind of a Solitude without the display. It doesn't have the internal GPS. And I think yeah, as long as yeah, it doesn't have the internal GPS and still has the abilities
No
to,
Wi-Fi.
connect. Yeah, no Wi-Fi, but still has the
Lovely.
abilities to do, ACC2, LC1S, Smarty Cam. Gonna have an ECU connection, 4 GB internal memory, same removable USB-C key.
And very waterproof.
Yep.
Tiny motorcycle, kind of
Very
motorcycle
tiny.
is
Yeah.
kind of the
Tiny.
market, and tiny.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, big picture, but it really is small if you look at those dimensions in millimeters. So, and here's a kind of an example of what it might look like. Connection examples. It did not talk about the GPS being able to connect it, but through a data hub, it can. Obviously, it didn't say that in
Right.
its other
Yeah,
notes.
so the ECUlog, the GPS is built in, or sorry, the XLog, the ECU, the GPS is built in. The ECUlog can be added as an external module.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And it's again kind of motorcycle. There's the theory, right? That many folks would use it in. So there's a little bit of information
Yeah.
about it if you want to come back and take a look later.
Yeah, the nice thing about the external GPS on the devices is the unit is so small in tight spaces, like where we're mounting things underneath the seat in motorcycles, because that seems to be the only storage location on the entire bike. Um, so we would bury all of our GPS information underneath the seat, underneath the battery, underneath the rider,
Yeah,
and the ECU log gives us the option to externalize the GPS module.
perfect. It wouldn't get a very good GPS reception under all of that. The the next one, and this one we're going to hand to Robbie, the CANKey, a small can logger. This is an interesting device.
Yes, this is actually one of my favorite pieces. I love lots of inputs and outputs,
Yep.
but this device is a can reading machine. So it will plug in. I've seen thumb drives that are bigger than this device. You can see the size of our bender connector is the standard 5-pin
Yeah.
bender.
Yeah.
So to give you guys a size, it easily fits into the palm of my hand. Um,
Yep.
so like this long. It has an 8 turn um, release mechanism on the top, and underneath it is the storage device. Now, what would you do with only CAN? It doesn't support our GPS modules or accessories, but it does allow you to program the device to read basically CAN information. So if you wanted to hook this up on a bike that had, or a car, or um, anything that you just needed some quick data on, you can plug it right into the OBD2 port. Um, and it doesn't require a lot of cabling. It doesn't require a lot of mounting. It's just this small little device that fits in a pocket without issue.
We
So
do
uh, mhm,
we do have a picture here just to give you an idea of how big it is, right? It's yeah, we had
mhm.
to zoom in over here so you could actually see it stuck up
You
here
got to
just for
zoom in.
exactly. So it is a tiny little guy, but the here's a little bit just a little bit more info on it, Robbie.
Yeah. So the interesting part is that we've always been striving to make things smaller, make things more rugged, make really size is always the biggest concern when dealing with tight space location, formula cars, motorcycles, just there's nowhere to put all of these things that we need to put into them. So we took the opportunity to reduce it, and this is the smallest that we can possibly make it now. It may get smaller in the future, but this
Of
is
course.
this is as small as we can make a CAN logging device at this point in time. And we worked our butts off on making this just as small and as miniature as possible. So um, yeah, it's about two memory keys stacked on top of each other. But the memory module, it's about half the size of a memory module. Um, yeah, so it's just great. Now, one of the features that came from PRI, which is one of the reasons why I love going to PRI, is it's like a meeting of the minds. But um, we were asked, why can we record raw data? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we can actually record all of the raw data coming out of an ECU. So, for the work that I do with AiM, reverse engineering ECUs, this would be wonderful to ship to someone. They plug it into their car and they give me a raw CAN dump. So then they can send it back to me or email me the files. I can build them a rapid development ECU driver that reads, the money channels, if you will, Roger. um, and they're up and running and they're off, and we can do this all remotely. It's a small investment in time. It's a small investment in like monetarily, and it's just a I think we'll see a ton of these going out the door.
Yep, I do too. I do too. Lot of individual uses that can be made, and of course the motorcycle guys that have a an ECU on their bikes and need just a quick file off of it is
Mhm.
pretty good. There's a picture of it there, and there's some specs for it. We talked to try to give you the specs as well.
Not Roman
Again,
Alfie, 1.76 ounces.
yeah, 50 grams. And again, IP67, so quite water resistant, just like every other device we've seen so far. So the next one is a long-awaited product that is out there. I think Bryc was going to start with this one, and then Robbie, you can jump in if you'd like. But the EPM08 and the EPM32, Bryc.
Yeah, so EPM, expansion power module. So this is meant to be an add-on to either a PDM or like one of our dash loggers. This is basically a slave PDM. So it doesn't have all the inputs that the PDM32 would have, or the display. It's designed to be connected to one of those if you need more power outputs. All the logic and the programming is all going to be the same as the PDM. Just strictly going to be power outlet or power expansion module, basically. So, if you have a PDM32, Robbie always talks about the off-road desert trucks that he works on, always running out of power outputs because they have all these motors and fans and lights and things that need to be driven. In the past, we've basically had to link two PDMs together in order to make that work, which can be done, but is a little bit more in depth as far as the programming that needs to be done. Whereas this is just gonna, connect to a PDM or a dash just like any other expansion would through our AiM CAN, and going to be told what to do based on what the master is telling it and based on what the power outputs are programmed to do. So these are really cool.
Perfect. We
Yeah.
got a couple. We got
So
a connection example if you want to talk
Yeah, I
off
was
of
gonna
that a
say,
little
I'm
bit,
sure
Robbie.
Robbie has more to add to that.
well, the pinout is the same. The PDM32 has the same digital inputs, the same digital. It's literally like adding another PDM to it, which is always nice. So instead of 8 analog channels, I now have 16 analog channels. The hard part about marrying two PDM32s is pushing and receiving all of the information back and forth, right? So I have done light packages that were just 120 amps alone, just in lights. So you need to have a second PDM, but I want to know how much amperage the light PDM is pushing. I want to know the state of all those power outputs. So I would have to go in and program to send all of the information to the primary PDM so that it could be recorded. And then I would also have to send from the primary PDM to the secondary PDM the user inputs, right? The keypad switches, the how I want things to turn on so that they do what I want them to do. And that was just an unnecessary hiccup. So when you add an EPM, the configuration of the primary device just gets larger. Just like if you were to add a Lambda controller or a channel expansion, it's a selection that you make, and then you have access to all of the power outputs. So you don't have to redefine all of the analog channels. You don't have to send it out via CAN. You don't have to understand CAN because we're going to take care of all of that for you.
Simplifies the that dual install very much, it sounds like.
Yes, very much so. And it'll make it approachable for everyone to run two PDMs if they need two PDMs. Or maybe they just wanted they're out on their PDM32 or the harness is already made. It's very easy to add a PDM08 for as cars develop and the packages change, and we may have requirements for a couple more circuits to energize X, Y, and Z.
And an EPM can also be added to a device that does not have a master PDM, right?
Yes, it can. So the EPM, for example, if I'm an MXG user or MXT or any of our data logging systems, I could adopt a PDM. I could take that on without having to redo all my display characteristics. I don't have to rebuild my page management. I mean, I'll probably tweak it with all the new information that I'm getting, but I can now add to an existing package.
Right. A lot of people like to have that PDM operation with a 1.2 or 1.3 device. So there is a limit to what can't go to the super old stuff, right? It's some of the current product, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think basically moving 1.3s and on will
Okay.
be the systems that we can work with. That's the processor generation that we're currently developing right now, and you find it in most of our current systems.
Perfect. Pretty strong device that way. So, oops, there you go. So, anything else, Bryc or Robbie, you'd like to add about the PDM? Or I'm sorry, EPM. Geez, I'm going to screw that up a lot.
I really I'm really looking forward to this.
It's
It's
exciting.
my
It makes
second
Robbie's
month.
job a lot easier.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier, and it'll be more efficient to just send one configuration with my changes instead of having to plug into a different PDM. I will admit to everyone here that um, PDM32s, you have to identify them, right? But sometimes I don't. I'll just leave the serial number and I'll have a primary and a secondary PDM, and I'll be plugged into the secondary and transmit my primary configuration to it, and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. Like sirens going off and wigwag lights and everything. It's like,
Fans
whoa.
turning on and on, going.
Right.
It does talk over here on this first page here. The EPM32 and the '08 are dedicated to this list of devices. This was what was in the book. It may not be the 1.2 that may adjust, but at least it showed the 1.2s here.
And Robbie touched on this a little bit. I think it's really cool that we can now have basically turn our dash into a PDM. So
Yeah.
if you're an existing user that has a MXS, MXP, MXG, something like that, and you need some power outputs, it's a lot easier than, just to add one of these rather than switching to a PDM and then adding what you need.
Yeah. PDM08 to run like your bumper, your full suit, maybe the radio, and like what I mean, even grassroots racers would
Absolutely.
benefit from this because it takes out for me, it takes out the complexity of understanding how a relay works, understanding how switches need to be wired, understanding like what fusible metrics I need to be setting up for all of these things because I can just go in, I home run the wire from the PDM directly to there, and I set my fuse. The relay, if you will, is my logic. I get to program it. I don't have to go in and rewire it when I want to change it either.
Multiple circuit breaker, it resets all the power that all that happens is an added benefit, obviously, as well. Perfect. So the next one we have was also a Robbie one where we have some of these already out, but it's expanding, and so Robbie's going to talk a little bit about the Keypad series.
So K15 and K8s are already well, and they come in two flavors. So we have a AiM specific keypad, and the difference is the connector on the back. So the connector on the back is our standard 5-pin Binder connector, and that's made to plug directly into our expansion bus. So you plug it into a data hub, or you plug it directly into the EXP or even the GPS inputs. but our proprietary CAN bus is what runs the keypads, and you program it as such. The open devices, they can serve dual purpose. They can be used as our proprietary CAN bus, or they can be used as a custom user-defined CAN output. And this really opens up the usability of the keypad. So not only can it work with our devices, but it can work with other people's devices because we give you the option to program how to send information to and from. And most people have a keypad or they have a keypad manufacturer. There's a lot of companies out there that make pretty impressive keypads, but they all are momentary devices. And I say all because I've dealt with a lot of keypads, but there may be some other smart keypads out there. This one has a processing unit inside of it, and it holds the configuration of what the buttons are supposed to do. So you don't have to read a momentary push button via CAN, and then create a status variable to change it into a toggle or a multi-position switch, and then send it back to illuminate the light because the keypad will hold that configuration file within its own memory, and it decreases the latency, the communication between keypad, PDM, and back to keypad, and in the overall flexibility of the system. Like I can tell the keypad when it when I push a button to remember the state that it was in. So if I turn the car off and my fuel pump was on, I can easily just click a checkbox that says, remember the state that you were in when I turned you off. And then it just stays on. So I can have certain things that stay on, certain things that turn off, but I press them and they go right back to where they are. So I use it a lot for fuel pumps. If you want to run a fuel pump one, then you can just keep it on there. If I turn it off on fuel pump two, but I have a certain timer that I only want to run fuel pump two, and before I switch back to one, then next time I start the car, it's on fuel pump two. Keeps track of it for me.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the work of on the hardware device itself, the display itself, right?
Mhm.
You can save all that on the keypad. Nicely done.
And
Nicely
can I
done.
just can I just say too that I've like especially at PRI I was messing with a lot of like other keypads and just kind of how they look and how they feel is not as good.
Uh,
This is
You may
so
be a
much
bit
better than a lot
biased.
of them that are out there. Like there's such a nice tactile feel when you click one of those buttons. Plus they look awesome. So yeah, these are nice. I like these a lot.
all the different colors that are available to you, and each button is customizable as well, right? We have a bunch of them already made up, but we can also make other ones. So there's a
So we're
kind of
working on the 6 right now. The 8 and the 15 are already released, and then the 4 will be the next up. And they're all going to come in an open and a AIM exclusive keypad version.
perfect. This is what it might look like in the car, and a little bit about it. If you want to take a look at it, there's the open version that Robbie's been talking about, the keypad or
Mhm.
the open version. How they
Ooh,
there's the
one thing to
there's
note, if you go with the 7 or the open keypad, so it can pull dual purpose for you and maybe be used on an ECU or another PDM, but then you decide to go with the AIM PDM, it can work with the AIM PDM natively like the other keypad does. However, you will need the USB and cable because the configuration is user defined and the configuration lives on the keypad. So you'll need that USB cable. You're going to use Race Studio 3 to go in and program it, but you will need to say that it's either being plugged into a CAN bus or it has a dedicated set of instructions to transmit information to another system.
perfect. Perfect. Okay. The and the last one is the Python ECU. We don't have a ton of information or want to speak a bunch about this, but Robbie has just a little bit of info, and we've got the screen slides here.
The multi-cylinder ECU. Maybe a year and a half ago, I got a confidential document, the multi-plural, and it's basically the idea on paper of this ECU. So we've been working on this project, and when I say we, Alessandro is like the man, is the godfather of the ECU, and he has done wonderful things with our Taipan, wonderful things with the Urara and the Spark software. He controls all of it. Um, but the Python is the next evolution. So we went from single cylinder to 2 cylinder, and now we're doing 4 cylinder applications. The actual application of the Python, we have several projects that we're using the Python in currently, and we have several more that we are working to integrate the Python ECU into. And they're incredibly flexible. I mean, we have pedal shifting, we have wings, we have adjustable wings break based on brake bias, we have push to pass, we have, I mean, the things that you can do when you put your mind to it are pretty limitless when it comes to our ECUs. A lot of flexibility, just like our PDMs, just a ton of flexibility. And with it does come complexity. I'm not going to lie, they are complex machines. But if anybody's programmed their own ECU from start to finish, you know that it's difficult to understand relationship between and crank and cam and valve and clamps and decays and like there's so I mean just in terminology I could spend an hour.
Yeah, I think I have a picture of there's a little bit of a picture of what the software might
Yep.
look like. So just to give you an
Yep.
idea, there's the software unique maps and strategies, and we've got our own special software called Spark. It's AIM written developed software.
Oh, I'm getting close. But that is an old version of the Spark software. So we have the table in there, which is an XY, and it basically allows you to adjust the millisecond on period of your injectors, given throttle position and RPM. Now it's 32 positions wide, so it gives you a lot of different breakpoints, and we interpolate between the breakpoints. So the smoothness that you can obtain by having so many different RPM ranges with different fuel and ignition deliveries is phenomenal. Um, but in the very top of that little sheet, that this is the table. Then we have a 2D sheet, and then we also have 3D tables. So a 3D representation of the fuel map or the ignition map.
I skipped one real quickly there, just showing the basic of it, rugged and reliable. And I think there's one
Mhm.
more. There's a little bit of the technical specifications itself. Robbie may see something on there you want to mention again as we look at that. As Robbie's looking that over, everybody, if we've got time for a couple of questions, if you want to throw those into the question and answer box, I'll try to catch them if there's something in the chat box as well. But rather have it in the question and answer box. But so if you have anything, throw that in there, and we'll try to get to them before we call it a day. So you see anything else in there you'd like to chat about, Robbie?
I mean, the difference between the Taipan and the Python is that this one has the internal barometric pressure sensor.
Uh,
So instead of having to run an external pressure sensor to manage your elevation change or basically your the amount of air that's coming into the system needs to be have a reference to barometric pressure. As that fluctuates, we need to fluctuate our fuel delivery because air and fuel give us the wonderful thing we call combustion. So, so the internal barrel is very nice to have. And then the internal wideband controller is something that's built into the ECU itself. So it will manage an O2 sensor directly without having a controller, an external controller. So our LC1 or our LC1S is an external controller that manages a sensor probe and feeds us the data via CAN. That's on board now, and you can now wire in an O2 sensor without the controller in the way, without having to supply power and CAN information to it. It's just O2 sensor at that point.
Interesting. And then, of course, it can be connected to our AIM devices, but it also shows there that there is a small memory for about 30 minutes of acquisition internally, even if you didn't have your own loggers connected to one of our loggers. So pretty handy that way. The
Absolutely. And then
Go
half
ahead.
bridge for the drive-by-wire. It's an automotive ECU, and it's all new for us as a company. However, we have had the benefit of seeing all of the different ECU manufacturers out there and what they produce, and we were able to create a package that we think is just going to really narrow in on this four-cylinder market, which is what our Python is really going after.
Perfect. I do see a lot of people asking for price. We don't have a ton of information on some of these things right now. Robbie
Ah,
can probably give us
yes.
a better idea, but it is a little bit early for those of us sitting in this talk, at least in this discussion, right?
Right. What we need is software maturity. on the Python specifically. So we're still working with some of the aspects. And I did say that we're actively working in projects right now where the Python is being used, and we're working on new projects where we are developing a platform that the Python can be used on. But this is us like fully understanding the project scope and going in and designing a package with a map that's tunable for the end user. And it's not quite to the point where we can just say, here's a 4-cylinder ECU for any car that you have, whether it's, a 36 to 1 depending on the crank triggers you have. There's so much that we still have to add to the software to make it compatible. It can handle it, but we have to be able to give the users a way to program that into the hardware system, which is our active project for this year.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's see if there's any.
Bruce asked if the Python will be able to handle boosted engines, and I think Robbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're still working on that as far as like the wastegate management and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, solenoid control, and basically PID loops is something that we are developing a strategy for, and it's a requirement for running a turbo application. So can it be programmed for fuel and spark delivery? Yes, absolutely. Um, Targeting a specific boost pressure given specific variables, whether it's throttle position, map selection, or um, barometric, whatever it is that we want to control the boost pressure on, we have to be able to obtain a target of boost pressure given X, Y, and Z variables. So yes, it we will get there. In fact, I think Bryc and I we had a decent conversation with Alessandro about how we both have turbo cars that um, we are eagerly waiting for those updates.
We will be your guinea pigs, Alessandro. It's fine.
I could tell by both of you laughing when the question was read that it was a subject that had been recently discussed by both of you. So,
It's always the question.
exactly. Kyle asked a question a little while back in the chat. Does fly-by-wire output to a driver box for throttle motors? It's drive-by-wire stuff.
Drive by wire. It's got a dedicated half bridge for drive by wire, capable of moving 8 amps. So that's the half bridge is I can push or pull, so we can low side or high side the activation.
Okay.
No problem there. And then more about the wing actuator. It's pretty sweet. Based on speed, based on user input from steering angle and braking or throttle, we can adjust the level of the wing to give more or less force in the back end.
Active Arrow. It's basically a Bugatti.
There, that's right. That's right.
Perfect.
Can't wait to put it on my not Bugatti.
your non-Bugatti application, huh? Okay. Well, that's about all. That's about all we had as far as the hardware. You two of you have anything else you'd like to add about any of the particular ones, or a question you saw?
I have one thing I wanted to add too. Just
Okay.
it's not in any of the slides, but just
Okay.
because we talked about the CAN openness of the keypads. On another hardware subject, we have actually 4 things now that are CAN open. So there's the keypads, which we talked about. There's also an open GPS09C. There's an open LC1S Lambda monitor, and there is a open ACC2, which is like the new channel expansion for those who aren't familiar. But all of those are going to have open versions, so we're really expanding the amount of things that we can work with, which I think is pretty cool.
And the other perfect, and the open products seem to be increasing, so very 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 cool. And the other word that keeps coming up here a little bit, and it's something we always hesitate to discuss at all, but it was questioned so many times, is release dates. The only one we got a good hard number on, I think, is probably the Micron 6, right, or a pretty good number for.
Yeah, we got some good numbers. EPMs are supposed to be the end of this month.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I always kick myself for doing this so publicly on a medium that could never be taken away. but I could only give you the information that
Right.
the most up to date information that we're working on right now, and so things do change, development changes.
Problems
I,
arise or problems get fixed,
I
right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is PRI has always been an opportunity for us to show you what we're working on, not necessarily what is done, but it's what we're passionate about and what we're working on kind of behind the scenes. So we open the door at PRI and show you all of our projects and say, what do you guys think? And it still allows us the time to go in and modify things based on constructive criticism or just unique features that we couldn't think of because we're so close to the project. And it's like, well, have you thought about this? And like, not until right now. And you jot it down a note and go
Let's
back to the
talk to
office.
somebody. Let's talk to the developer.
Yeah.
Maybe we add that. Boom, 30 more days, right?
Mhm.
But the EPM imminent is probably the right. It's probably the next big product to come out, which is good. And then the Micron 6 is right in that area as well. I think right sometime in February or something, if I remember right.
Yeah. So for me, the Micron 6 is just a fantastic piece of hardware. So I can't wait
Yeah,
for it to get out there.
obviously, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
We just went to me and two other technicians just went to Daytona Kart Week, which is like the first karting event
Oh
that any of
boy,
us went
bet
to
bet you
after
were hit.
PRI and the release of the Micron 6. And that's everyone's like, oh, you got one? Can I see it? Can I touch it? Do you have one?
yeah.
What's up with the new Micron 6? So highly anticipated.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Anything else you guys would like to add? I haven't seen any other new questions with their processor speed on the new Spark ECU. It's 32-bit. I don't know what the processor speed is, right? It's
Um,
I do
so
not know.
it's a hard metric. So the processor speed and its ability to run computations is I would feel comfortable telling you that it's fast. Um, but it really depends on what we need it to do. And we haven't approached the limit yet, and we have definitely taken
Throwing
it
a
to the
lot at
next level for
throwing a lot
some
at
of some
it.
of the things that
Yeah.
we've done. Yeah.
Those things tend to be exponential and also depend on a lot of variables.
Mhm.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Well, I appreciate the both of you coming on here. I know everybody is super busy, and Robbie had to probably break a couple of speed limits getting to us, but he had a
Made it though. I was late, but I did make it.
not but not by very much. I'll tell you. So good for you, and I appreciate the strong effort very much. The let's kind of close this out a little bit. If we see another question come up, we'll grab something maybe right at the end. But the this one, just like every other one that we've done, will be I will be working on as soon as Zoom and YouTube allow me to get it up onto our YouTube site, AIM Data on YouTube, where we put all of these just as soon as I can, usually within an hour, hour and a half. So this one will be up there where everybody can go back and take a look at anything we talked about. You guys have the link. I placed the link again for the PowerPoint of the presentation plus the document where you get information about a lot of other things, including all of those diagrams and all the tech specs. You can go grab that so you have it. But this video will be placed up on the YouTube site just in a little bit this evening, so it'll be up there. It wasn't a very long winter. As Bryc said, customer support has started already the first weekend of January. So we're out there, we're walking around, and I was working with Robinson, who is at Sebring at the Hoosier Super Tour SCCA race this past weekend. So
Crazy.
the folks are out there working away all the AIM techs. So if you see us out there, give the guys a bottle of water and a slap on the back. I'd appreciate it. If you don't see somebody at the track, give us a call at 800-718-9090. It's really important to us to support the products and get you what you need and get you guys up to speed as fast as we can. So look forward to that. Next AIM webinar is going to be January 28th, last Tuesday of the month. And we always do these on the second Tuesday of the month, and then the last Tuesday is a Tuesday of the month. And our next guest is going to be an old friend of AIM, had been an AIM tech
Right.
for several years, and his name is Trey Shannon, and he is the BitFit program director at the Charlotte, North Carolina office. Trey's going to be joining us and talk a little bit about training and muscles and getting prepared and becoming fit in motorsports. He works with a lot of big name IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA drivers, as well as tons of karters and sports car racers and everybody else. So Trey's going to come in and talk with us a little bit about fitness, and of course we'll slide in a little bit of AIM data discussion and looking at some data, from an AIM data file as well, where we're talking about it and how to get trained up to be a better racer. So we will talk about that on January 28th. Hope all of you are able to make it. Again, a little bit of contact information. There's the phone number again at the top, and email addresses for each of us down below. If you have any questions, look forward to chatting with you and working out any questions you might have. Again, the PRI Show, wonderful thing. I hope some of you, if you haven't ever made it there, you work out a way to get to Indianapolis there at the middle of December and visit that show. It's a wonderful time. We'd love to have you stop by our booth and talk with us as well. Bryc does just a ton of work putting all that together, and he has some help, I think, but he does a ton of work putting all that together, and we really appreciate all the work that he does.
It's a massive amount, but like hats off to you, Bryc.
Absolutely, yeah. He's the one that makes it all happen for all of us. So, the rest of us show up on during that week and just have a good time, right, Bryc? No, he's very good about what he does. Is there anything else you guys would like to add as we kind of close this one down?
I'm working on new tech tips and maybe hardware spotlights for our YouTube, so keep an eye on that.
Perfect. And Robbie?
I always enjoy coming on here, Roger, and getting to talk about all the cool things that we do, and most people will never actually like see it. So it's just a really good time to come in here and talk about the things that I really like doing.
I don't get to get Robbie on here, Robbie and Bryc and some of the other techs as often as I'd like. I try to focus on analysis and some other things, and then I sit back and I start looking at the list and I go, boy, it's time to get those guys back on here, and they're always willing and able, and we come on and talk about some cool things. So we'll try to get you on every few months, but and have a good time. So I appreciate all the hard work. I appreciate everybody showing up. We had a great time, and we will see you on the next one. So thanks everybody for coming, and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.